right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know tonight is an amazingly beautiful night, and we're so happy to not have rain, and I think that you all want to be outside, but I appreciate that you're joining us today and concerned about this particular legislation. This has been a priority of Connecticut Audubon's for a few years now, and we feel like we're ready to get this across the finish line, and it's been really through your support and your voices that this is possible. But we need your voice one more time just to make sure that when we get it across the finish line, we're getting it across the line in a way that it's going to be most beneficial for birds, bees, butterflies, and caterpillars. And so I'll just go through very quickly. The pesticides, they're key. They're the key cause neonics. When we look at the increased use of neonics over time and the decrease in bird populations, they correlate pretty closely. We, of course, had 30% decline in bird species across the country, but we've also been seeing a 96% decline in bumblebees and a 90% decline in monarch butterflies. Those are the insects that are most sensitive to neonic use. And so the increased use of neonics on our lawns, on our shrubbery, on our ornamental plants is a factor in their decline. And so we're really advocating for Connecticut to take a stand and eliminate the use of neonics on those particular areas. Neonics are the most widely used and the most dangerous of the pesticides for birds, bees, and butterflies. And there are some restrictions that are included in SB 9. We and our partners have already excluded agricultural uses, nursery uses, and orchard uses. Orchard uses we exempted immediately because neonics in orchards are beneficial, and we do not want to hurt our orchard industry in the state of Connecticut. But the uses that are on agricultural and nursery uses are, if it's prophylactically being used, we're asking that it be reduced, that significantly be reduced for its use. As we note, the Senate is going to be voting soon on this. And this is pretty much some of the things that I've just said is neonics. Connecticut did restrict the use of neonics by individuals. So the only people who can be using neonics are really licensed applicators and golf course superintendents. However, they will say that it's part of their integrated pesticide management, and they use it in a systematic way, whether they know the pest is on site or not. So it is being widely spread on, potentially on 300,000 acres of turf across the state of Connecticut, but also on the ornamental shrubs and plants and gardens that are surrounding that turf. What we're hearing right now is that when the bill is introduced, it will immediately be introduced in an amended form, or an amendment will be placed on it that eliminates the ornamental landscaping from the bill and only leaves the turf grass. Connecticut Audubon, we're very concerned about that. The areas where the bees, butterflies, caterpillars, and birds will mostly spend most of their time are those shrubs and trees on the sides of lawns. They'll, of course, go down to lawns for some of the insects that are in the lawns, and we're concerned about that, and we definitely want the lawns not to have neonics used on them, but we want the ornamental plants as well. We don't feel that it's the strongest of bills to not have the ornamental plants. So, we'd be very happy if the bill passes and it's just the 300,000 acres. We're not going to be thrilled. We're going to be happier that something happened, but the strongest of bills for us right now would be to keep the ornamental plants in it. New York, Vermont, they've passed much stronger bills than Connecticut's passing right now. So we're going to keep trying to move the needle on how Connecticut, the equivalent to our neighboring states, But as it stands right now, this year, we would like to get the ornamentals along with the turf grass. Tom, do you want to go through what you can do to help, since you're going to be able to explain to everybody how to find their senator and how to communicate with them?
Anderson, I'm going to, lots of you know this and it's pretty basic, and lots of you know who your state senator is anyway, but I'm going to quickly run through how to look up who your state senator is. So on the next slide, I think we have the URL, maybe, Joyce? Yeah, okay. So I will email this to you tomorrow, but that's the site you go to. And let me share my screen. Okay, so give me a second here. Okay, now everybody can see who I'm going to email from. And this, you may recognize this site. When you go to that URL we just posted on the, we just showed on the page, it'll take you to this. It's really simple. The first thing you do is you type in your town, and I'm going to use as an example our Deer Pond Farm as the address, just to show you how it works. So Deer Pond Farm is in Sherman, so you scroll up just like you've done a million times. Click Sherman, street name. It actually will show you all the streets in your town. Deer Pond Farm is on Wakeman Hill Road, and the number is 57. And then you click find. And it takes you to a page that shows you who your state rep is, your state senator, which is what we're interested in tonight. And then, for other occasions, you may want to know how to get in touch with Senator Blumenthal or Chris Murphy or Representative Johanna Hayes. But for that district, which covers roughly from the town of Sherman up to the Massachusetts border and along the New York State border, that whole northwest corner, click on that link and it takes you to Richard Harding's page. And in the upper right-hand corner, I need to move this. Maybe it's not a minute. Let's see. There it is, right to the right of the page. Just under the photo, it says contact. Click on it, and it gives you his information. Pretty simple. So what we would like you to do is find your state senator, send them a simple email saying that you live in their district, you are a constituent. You can tell them your address or what street you're on if you'd like. Tell them that you are a supporter of Senate Bill 9, and in particular of the neonicotinoid provision. Ask them to support it as it is written, and ask them to not support it, or rather to not ask them to oppose any attempt to add anything that would weaken the neonicotinoid provision, including an amendment that would exempt ornamental plantings from the bill. And then click send. So, I mean, obviously everybody sent a million emails. You don't need me to tell you that. Joyce and I were on a call the other day, and Lori Brown, who is the head of the Connecticut League of Voters, told us something that neither of us knew. The Senate is in session for the next 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, starting at 11 a.m. And what Lori said is that in the afternoon hours, there are debates going on, there are discussions about bills. Some of the state senators pay attention, some of them don't. Not everybody's interested in everything. It's a great time to email them because they're just sitting there on the Senate floor with a computer reading their email. So if you want to do this tomorrow afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, or Thursday afternoon, that would be a good way to to get their attention pretty quickly and pretty promptly. If you can't do it in the afternoon, do it tomorrow morning, tomorrow night, anytime would be fine. But over the next few days, it's imperative because, as Joyce said, we've heard that they're going to vote on that as possibly as early as this week. So if there are questions.
I'm going to reshare my screen, Tom. Just,
yes, please.
Because we have people asking for the link, which we'll also put in the chat.
Yeah.
Do that.
And I'll everybody on this call will get an email from me tomorrow with the link. But I will put it in the chat too.
So yes, we'll add that into the chat. So I did see Wendy asked about the schoolyards. So we're basically just saying ask them to keep the bill exactly as it is. The word we've heard is that the industry has heard everybody's comments and concerns about the schoolyards, and they're not proposing that. But I think they're kind of doing the trade-off of, well, we'll drop the schoolyards if you drop the ornamental plants. We've already conceded on the language from House Bill 6916 to what SB 9 has. We've already conceded on nursery plants, agricultural uses, and so what we would like to see is the bill pass where it's turf grass and the surrounding ornamental landscaping not being used, having it not used on. So as it stands right now, what they are saying is we won't see an amendment that includes a acelyprin being used on schoolyards, school grounds. But the amendment's going to happen as soon as the bill is introduced, while they're in session and while they're discussing it. So we're not going to know until that time exactly what the amendment contains. So just encouraging them to pass SB 9 as currently written ensures that none of that gets included.
Joyce, I have a question that's to that point specifically. Jane Jacobson asked, could you put the content in the email as well? I will do that. All of the things that we talked about today will be in the email I send you tomorrow. But it's probably better if you don't just copy and paste it. If you could revise it a little bit so it sounds like it's coming from you. One of the reasons we didn't use our automatic email action alert thing today is because it's a little bit, we'll use that in the future, but it's a little bit more effective if you're writing to your specific representative or state senator to send a personal email so he knows it's from you directly. And also, Joyce, this is Kathy Pop asked who wants to exclude ornamentals and why? Is it a money profit issue?
So it's the industry. So it's the pesticide industry as well as the landscaper industry is asking for the ornamentals to be excluded. And so it's neonics are used on ornamental shrubs primarily for white aphids. There are other options. They don't have to use neonics, but again, they usually say it's a tool in their toolkit, and so it's their preferred method of addressing white aphids. I've talked with a lot of people who have spoken with their landscapers and told them specifically, I don't want you to use neonics on my shrubs, and they've managed to handle white aphids without using neonics. It's a good question. It's usually the industry just trying to keep their already prepared integrated pest management strategies in place, because as soon as this tool's taken away, they have to create a new strategy.
So a couple more questions. These I think are pretty quick, and then maybe a harder one. Gina Nickel asks, my senator has an online contact form. Is that as effective as a direct email from me? I think the answer to that is yes. Those forms go right into their state email address, so you could use that. David Schellenberger says, can we get media attention on the status of the bill? I've been trying and working on it. We've got a lot of media attention so far for this. It's the best we can do on that is keep trying, and we definitely will. Sarah, Joyce, what do you think about this question? The answer to this from Sarah Middleier, who's on our board of directors on the executive committee, in fact. Sarah asks, if we've already contacted our senator about SB 9, should we write again about this? I think yes.
So I think that's a yes. I don't think they can hear too frequently. And so the bill has so far moved through appropriations because it has a fiscal note on it, and it's passed judiciary. It is passed appropriations. It's running through finance, as far as I know, this week. And they are trying to step this forward. There's a lot of momentum behind the bill, and we love that. Because there's several components that are in the bill that are bipartisan, that they do want to move forward. We are finding that Neonics seems to have been the tool that got the most attention and kind of pushed this bill forward, but it's also the thing that they're trying to get us to give the most on. So the bill contains a couple of things that are beneficial for all towns. Coastal resiliency funding, coastal resiliency project funding, and so that there are a lot of towns that want that. Then there's neonics and rodenticides. And rodenticides is a restricted use on second generation anticoagulant rodenticides. The bill 6915, that was a ban on second generation anticoagulant rodenticides, has died. So this is the only way that we can restrict the use of second generation anticoagulant rodenticides as well. So this bill is a pretty strong bill that will limit pesticide use. We would just like to see ornamentals remain in it and have it pass exactly as it's currently written.
Right.
But I would reach back out again. I've reached back out to my legislator. There are a couple of legislators who we know are not supportive of keeping ornamentals in the bill, and we are specifically, happens to be one, I live in their district, so we are specifically reaching out to them and saying, getting as many voices as we can to reach out to them, and that would be Senator Harding, who Tom used as a demonstration, and Senator Somers.
Charlie Obert asked, to be clear, are we talking about the bill as introduced or as it stands today? It's the bill as it stands today. That's a good bill, and if it passes, we'll all be happy. So Joanna Giddings asks a question that maybe Joyce can, I'm giving you the hard ones, Joyce, sorry. My senator indicated to another constituent that they think this needs to be studied more. Does anyone have a list of existing studies about the harms of pesticides that I can include? Well, I guess the answer is yes to that, but it's been studied.
There are a lot of studies, but the most recent study that really talks about neonic impact is from the EPA from 2023. And, you know, the EPA said neonics specifically are pushing more than 200 endangered species on the endangered species list towards extinction. That's 11% of the Endangered Species Act are being pushed towards extinction by neonics specifically. To me, that's as big a statement as you can make.
Joanna, put the name of your state senator in the chat if you want. I will look him or her up. Another question from Charlie Obert, is there anything in this bill to reduce the availability for the homeowner to buy and use these? You want to handle that one, Joyce?
So there are already restrictions for homeowners. So neonics have not been sold, available for homeowners to purchase them for several years. But so they could only be applied by licensed applicators. Now what we want to do is basically ban the use of neonics there is a component where, in the event of an emergency, where there is a pest that only neonics will address in the state, then neonics could be used. But in general, we're just saying, why would we put it down on our lawns 2 or 3 times a year and have it flush through the lawn and into our water systems, which is what all of the studies on waterways, on rivers are showing, when we don't know that the pest is actually there or that it's effective on the pest.
Let's see. Joanne Warren asks, is the language the same in SB 9 for rodenticides as it was in the bill that died?
No, it's not. So 6915 was a ban on use of second generation anticoagulant rodenticides, and SB 9 is a restriction so that individuals, again, you and I would not be able to purchase it and put it around our homes or our properties. They would have to be used by certified applicators.
More questions? I want to say that if you have questions, you think of questions after we're done, email them to me. You probably have my email address. If not, just Google me. I'm the easiest guy in the world to find. Look on the Connecticut Audubon website. I'm there as well. Would be happy to entertain whatever questions you have via email. And the more questions you send me, the more I can tailor the tomorrow's email to all of you. Let's see. Well, this is an interesting one from Patricia Hauser. Hi, Pat. Just because I think it would resonate with some, is there a resource that you can point to that shows studies giving examples of the impact of neonics on domestic pets? Is there a veterinary association stand on this issue? I don't know of one, and I believe the law includes an exemption for the use of neonics on like flea and tick collars. Joyce, do you know more than that?
Yeah, I don't know about any studies that specifically look at the pets, but the bill does exempt veterinary uses. It is another one of the exemptions. So flea and tick collars, because it is found to be beneficial for our pets to prevent ticks. I mean, you kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But I know my dogs, they get a lot of tick-borne diseases if they don't have some kind of a protection.
So here's a question from David Schellenberger. Hi, David. How are you? And we should have probably addressed this earlier. The question is, are other conservation organizations also campaigning on this bill? Absolutely, yes. And Joyce could tell you a little bit more about the Connecticut Pesticide Reform Working Group.
So David, yeah, that's a great question. So we've been on the Connecticut Pesticide Reform Working Group for about 4 years, working with about 40 different organizations on this. So we have a lot of voices out there. We've been tabling. Our conference was a partnership of several of those organizations as well: Pollinator Pathway, Norwalk River Watershed Association, the River Alliance. So there's a lot of organizations out there that are very concerned about neonics and the impacts. We also, you've probably heard us on many of our webinars, neonics in our rivers at chronic lethal levels have had an impact on the mayfly population, which has an impact on our trout fishing population. So there's multiple issues that are out there. Tonight we're raising the call about ornamental shrubs just because that really is where the insects spend the majority of their time and where birds will spend the majority of their time. And the studies that we have all show that those populations are crashing. And so continuing to have neonics allowed on our ornamental shrubs in yards and, on the borders of all lawns is is just not going to have as much of an impact on by just eliminating it on the lawn itself.
Anyone else?
Gonna advance our slides. I think you've said all of this. Whoops. Well, I was gonna advance the slide.
Yeah.
There we go. I think you said all of this, Tom, but just to remind everybody, the Senate's in session for the next 3 days, and that is the ideal time, apparently. Who knew? I did not think that. I always thought, oh, I'll reach out to them when they're not in session. But I do know that watching them, they are on their computers a lot during session. So if we reach out to them, then it will be fresh in their minds. And we haven't heard that it's getting introduced yet, but they can introduce it at any time. Do you have any more
Yeah,
questions,
that looks they've slowed down. I would say maybe we're done, and we'll be in touch again tomorrow.
Right. So David just thanked us. Well, thank you. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. We really do not have the impact without your voice. It was your voice that got us this far. You know, having almost 1,000 people reach out and express their concerns for neonic use in our state got a lot of attention and really made it so that the legislators said, if 6916 isn't moving forward, we're going to attach it to a bill that will move forward. So, so thank you. And thank you for your concern for the birds.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Have a good night.